Welcome everybody. My name is Peter and welcome to my channel. I have fallen in love with the NARS Long Wearing Matte Foundation. This is in the shade New Caledonia. I've been using this every day and I just thought I would just use some NARS product today, play around with some NARS. I will be using other products, but this is a NARS product video and talk true crime with you. Just a little bit of my background. I have a journalism background and I also have a law degree. So my mind intertwine both of those things and always look at things through the journalist lens and also through the legal lens. So I have been watching the Nancy Guthrie case and I just thought today I would talk about it, hear your thoughts, and do some makeup, get ready for the day. Are you guys following the Nancy Guthrie case? Let me know down in the comments. I have been following the case ever since it broke. And this has been since February 1. She was abducted in her home. Nancy Guthrie is the mother of Today host Savannah Guthrie, and she lives in Tucson, Arizona. So what has happened is that she went, I put on my primer already. I'm using the Wonder Glow primer from Charlotte Tilbury. She went to dinner with her daughter and her daughter Annie and son-in-law. I'm not going to be too specific because I don't want to get the details wrong, but in the early mornings of February 1, she was abducted from her home. They had a motion detection on her security camera, but she has no security subscription because there's no subscription. It didn't record, and so they eventually was able to get some help from Google to come up with a picture or a video of the perpetrator covering the camera with some bushes. Now this one video has been out there and everybody has been speculating a lot, and I can understand the speculation because our brains try to make sense of things, and a lot of the things with this case just doesn't make any sense. So we're all speculating here, and there are some very interesting theories about what happened, whether it was a kidnapping, burglary gone wrong. She wears a pacemaker. Yes, she wears a pacemaker, and that alerted or that escalated, the pacemaker escalated at a certain point that helped them determine that when the person entered the home, or helped them not necessarily determine when the person entered, but how long the person was in there. They estimate that the perpetrator has been there in the house for 40 something minutes. It's over a month that this lady has been abducted, and there's not much word from the sheriff about what really has happened. There was a press conference earlier and the sheriff gave us these details that I'm telling you now. Now, the FBI, or the authorities, I should say, the authorities went and collected the cameras, even though she didn't have any subscription, to see if they could get some sort of help with identifying more things about the perpetrators. They presented the public with two images: a picture of a man standing at the entrance without a backpack, and another with him moving now with a backpack. That was video footage. Now, in the image with the person without the backpack, they're saying that some are speculating that it's the same day because the guy's wearing the same clothes. But for me, I look at it and the guy's shirt looks kind of plaid. The jackets look similar, but the only difference is that it looks more of a plaid design. And then on the second day with the backpack, or the second time with the backpack, it's a lot more solid colors. They were able to determine how tall the person was: 5'9", between 5'9" and 5'10". Some people are saying it is the mother-in-law, the son-in-law, Tommaso, who is responsible. But I heard a caller came in because I've been following this case on JLR Investigate and also Dad's Gone Live and 857 Tucson. They are there every day and I never miss a beat. It's just so captivating. Plus JLR is very personable and I like the fact that he's very respectful. You know, he also allows people to utilize their freedom of speech, even though some of the things that is said is very unkind. This is the NARS. This is a matte concealer and it's in the shade Walnut. It's a medium dark concealer. There. Anyway, where was I? So yes, I've been watching JLR Investigate and so I'm able to follow up. And then I've also been watching Brian Entin reports and Ashley, what's her last name again? Drop Dead Serious is her podcast. I've been watching a lot. And I also watch the Nancy Grace reports in the evenings. So anyway, a caller called in on JLR's channel and said that they, as I guess authority, is saying that Tommaso is is tall. But when they came some time ago to lay flowers, the family did, it doesn't look like Tommaso is that tall. Now, maybe that's because the authorities have already cleared Tommaso and the Guthrie family, and some people are not happy with that. But I guess they know why. And as I said, I'm looking through a journalistic lens that maybe they have ruled out the family to give us something else, as in journalists, something else to talk about and not focus on the family, because a lot of people were just blaming the family for being involved because they were the last ones who saw Nancy alive, right? The daughter and the son-in-law. Now, well, that is evident that maybe he's not really involved because he's not that tall, and they estimated the person to be 5'9" and 5'10", and he's not as tall as that. So that could explain that. But looking from things through a legal lens now, I am thinking that saying that the family has been cleared wouldn't be a good idea to say that just because the family, they still haven't caught the perpetrator. Right? So for the sheriff to come out and say that, a lot of people have issues with that. But also, police are able to lie in some instances because if it helps the investigation, they are able to lie, right? Maybe the police is just saying that because they just want to make people relax, the media, or maybe they want the family to relax so that they can continue to do their investigation and just observe. When people think they are cleared or they're not a suspect, they probably would just relax and just go about their day as normal. Who knows, right? But it's part of their investigation, and I just looking at things from a journalistic lens, you have to follow the facts. You can't really just go off based off opinions or based off of feelings, right? I know also that we are living in a time where trust is an issue with authority. I studied a bit about conspiracy theories to understand why and how people come up with conspiracy theories or believe like some real outlandish conspiracy theories. And trust was an issue. Just because it's coming from the government, they just automatically distrust it. And so to make sense of the situation, they come up with their own thing that make it logical in their minds, right? So I hear a lot of what people are thinking when I listen to JLR takes calls from his callers. It's very interesting, and it's also very funny to see the chat light up when people are like saying, oh, that person is crazy. Like yesterday they had this lady who called in and said she is the husband of this FBI, she is the wife of an FBI agent, right? And she knows exactly where the car is because everyone is saying, okay, how is it that Tommaso and Annie is cleared when the FBI or the authorities, I should say, I don't know who, when the authorities have not returned the car. Now, we don't know if the car has been returned, not because it hasn't been publicized. We don't know what's going on, because some things in the investigation has to be kept secret so that the investigation is pure, and when it comes time to trial, they can't have, the defense cannot say, let's throw this out because it was tainted, right? Evidence was tainted. So I understand that from the legal perspective, right? I'm sure you have seen cases and you know that some things get thrown out even though it's good evidence, because you have to really give the defendant a fair trial, you know? So the caller called in and said that the car is still at Quantico. Quantico is a place that helps with investigations, right? But the funny thing is that all of that information that the caller said was on the Nancy Grace channel the night before, right? So they're saying that there are instances. Nancy Grace did not say that the car is at Quantico. She had a guest on who said the car could still be at Quantico, the entire car, because they don't want to rip out things. If you're going to return a car, you don't want to rip out carpet and send it to a lab. It's just best to send the whole thing there so that they can analyze, do whatever it is that they need to do for the investigation, and you can give back that car wholesome, right? Instead of having to pay for recarpeting or anything like that. So JLR asked that caller some very interesting questions, but the answers that she gave all of what Nancy Grace had reported the day before. And so people were calling her out in the comments as being a liar, being a fraud, and not really having the facts, right? I like this concealer. Isn't it nice? Yeah. And not really having the facts. Okay, I'm gonna push. There we go. It's a very thin line, isn't it? I know I'm all over the place, guys. Bear with me. Bear with me. My mind is just intrigued by this case. You know, right now there's $1 million reward for any information that brings Nancy home alive, which the daughter Savannah has said that we know that would be a miracle, because this lady needs medication and all of that. And he can understand that from she's you know, a very elderly person, and most times you find those people need medication to survive, right? Plus she has a pacemaker, so we know she has a heart problem. But also the reward would cover somebody who helped to bring her remains, or I shouldn't say remains, bring her home one way or another, dead or alive, pretty much. I have not given up on her being alive, and I think part of that is seeing that other people, what's that girl, was it Elizabeth Smart? There was a girl in Cleveland, there was a Cleveland, Ohio case, Castro. They had these people locked up for years, to the point where he even impregnated the girl. There were 3 of them that were locked up. They were alive, so they were able to be found, right? So that's why I know anything is possible, and so I refuse to give up hope until I hear something concrete. But your mind is gonna say, oh, it's only logical. And so as a result, because of how long she has been out there, for over 40 days at this point, people are saying that it's just inevitable that she's not alive anymore. But for the journalist part of me, I can't just jump to a conclusion, or and the legal part of my brain can't just jump to assumptions, because you're just trained that anything you say out there, you have to back it up with proof. So it's hard for me to just go off assumption. Now, if I have a theory, it's always good to go and test the theory, right? But you can't just go out there and just say, oh, she's dead, just because it's more than 40 days that she's gone. Who knows? Maybe she's getting her medications, because they thought maybe she had gone over to Mexico. Brian Enton did a video of going to Mexico and seeing how easy it was to get. Okay, I'm gonna be using this brush. let's get my, I'm now using this NARS. This is Laguna cream bronzer. This is Laguna Bronzing Cream, and this is in the shade 4. I just have been loving this bronzer. Yeah. All right. So anyway, so yes, as I said, Brian Entin, he went to Mexico to see how easy it was to get medication just over the counter. That in the case if Nancy was abducted and taken to Mexico, as some people had thought at first or still think, then it's very easy for her to get her heart medication, right? So it's possible that they could have gotten her heart medication over the counter and that Nancy could still be alive because of that, right? So you can literally get the medication cheap, not only cheap, but over the counter without a prescription, right? So that is why it's still a possibility. But some authority are saying that she's not in Mexico. People are just speculating because they want answers. And since the sheriff has not come out and give more press conferences, but he still does some interviews, people are just speculating that he's not doing anything because he's not talking. But the thing is that we have to really take our emotions out of it sometimes, because we have to remember that if he says too much, then all of this information will be in the public. The media is going to report it. The streamers are going to report it. And so the killer or the abductor or whoever the culprit, the perp is going to be aware and know what the authorities know and all of that. So I can understand from the legal part of it why he probably hasn't said anything out loud. But I think that if he's going to talk to some media, it just might as well he has a press conference. So that would cut down on some levels of speculation. Or just don't talk to the media at all, you know? Maybe some of the times when he's saying some things and it doesn't make sense in our minds, he's probably trying to lie to throw the perp off. We have to just consider those things, right? But also, number one, if I am looking at things, if I'm going to be representing that perp, and if I see that all this information is out in the public, the first thing I'm gonna say that some of this evidence cannot come into court because the sheriff has tainted the jury pool, because all the jury already knows the information, the ins and outs. And so the person accused, we can't say that the person's a perp, but the person accused won't stand a chance because Nancy's an old person. People want people to pay when it comes to an elderly person and when it comes to a child. So you may find that people's biases do come into the jury as well. So I can understand the sheriff not having talked to the media. You have to preserve the case. And as I said, from the journalistic lens, I am thinking that, hey, you say to one news station, another news station is then going to have to put it in their words so that you're not plagiarizing. And have you heard of Chinese telephone? By the time it gets from the first person to the last person, everything is just changed and it's a new entire story. I am not really there in the sheriff's office to know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. So maybe the sheriff is being strategic in just putting certain things out there saying, oh, the family is not involved, when they're probably still looking at the family, right? But trying to get people relaxed. He's also saying the other day that the perp could repeat, because of course the perp could repeat because they don't know who the perp is. You can't just say, oh, the public is safe when you haven't caught the person. So it'll be irresponsible of the sheriff to say, oh, you're all safe, live your life. That would be irresponsible. And if anything does happen, then I'm sure they would have lawsuits up to Wazooka. I don't even know where Wazooka is, but yeah, right? So I'm so sorry I'm going all over the place. I'm just excited about what in terms of my brain, I'm excited about analyzing every little detail, because that's just how my brain works. Because that's how it's trained. So not trying to make excuses for anyone, whether the behavior of the sheriff or anyone. I'm just analyzing and I'm looking at things through the other lens, wherein I'm hearing some of the things that people are saying. How could it, maybe what could be going on could be this as well. You know, I'm just looking, giving the benefit of the doubt, and stuff like that. But as I said, the sheriff might be moving in a very strategic way. A lot of people talk about the Brian Koberger case, that we thought the sheriff wasn't doing anything at first because family would complain that they weren't hearing anything. And then one day we heard that the Brian Koberger was caught, and they had all of these evidence that literally pointed to him, a solid case to the point where Brian Koberger actually confessed, because the case was just that solid. So we can't discount what the sheriff's office is doing. I'm sure there are very great people working there. So even if you don't like the sheriff, there is a team working behind him. And so, as I said before, I can understand the skepticism also, because we're living in a time where we get information that is so conflicting, and you know, people don't trust authority. They look at authority as the enemy. In fact, I actually heard a lady yesterday on JLR's channel say that anything that comes out of Nanos's mouth, and Nanos is the last name of the sheriff, anything that comes out of his mouth, she's not going to believe. But yet still, this scholar is saying, how hasn't yet Nanos says anything? How come he hasn't done this and he hasn't said that? But the thing is that if he had said something, you would not believe anyway, you know? So it's like, I think the Nanos need to just focus on the investigation and not focus on public pressure. We all want to know what happened to Nancy, and every day I'm eager to find out, did they find a clue? In fact, it was on Thursday, when Dad's Gone Live, one of the streamers, he found like a grave. There was a plus, like looking like a cross, you know, but it was a cross, a cross in the shape of using sticks. And so I don't have any powder from NARS, any finishing powder, so I'm going to use my Fenty. This is Set It Down powder in the color Honey. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna, yeah, that. Okay, so anyway, just gonna set my makeup here. Yeah, so Dad's Gone Live found this shallow grave, and he took a picture of it, and he saw the sheet, like the sheet was partially above the ground and then the rest just dug in. Looks almost like when water covered something and then it drained off, and then some of the sheet is stuck in the mud. But after they did their digging and everything, he called the police and they did their digging. For me, I was just hoping, okay, in one breath I'm hoping, I just hope they just find Nancy. I just hope this can just come to an end. But at the same time, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want that. I want them to find Nancy alive, right? So they, JLR, Dad's Gone Live, 857 Tucson, all of these guys get together as streamers and report on any activity that is happening. They go on searches, and they keep us updated with the case every day. Like JLR, I think he's from a different state. I think he's from Florida, but he's been there in Tucson for over a month now. I'm sure he must misses his family, but he's dedicated to the case. And for me, I really don't want him to go, because it's almost, it made me feel like I'm there, and I just feel like, you know, FOMO, fear of missing out. I just feel like if he's gone, we probably would forget about the case. I'll be looking every day nonetheless, right? For on reports, wow, that's a lot. On reports about the case. But it's like with JLR being there, I am getting every minute. When someone drops off flowers, I know. If the people are doing paintings, I know. Oh, that's another thing too, is that the house has been given back to the family. And so there has been installation of security cameras. We see workmen there, and that seems to have bothered the public. Now, for me, how I'm looking at that is that maybe the family wants to move on. I would never want to live there. That house probably has a lot of memories and whatever it is, and to know that your mom has been abducted, maybe they want to sell it. Maybe they can't have any good memories there. Everyone grieves differently, and we have to respect that. Back to the doorstep. Some people are saying that the perpetrator is not that advanced, but the thing is that no one still have who this perpetrator is in custody. So maybe he's not as stupid as people thought. They cannot find camera footage during the time that they have, that they assume or think the perpetrator was there, because they think the perpetrator used something called a signal jammer. That's something, the signal jammer is illegal, but they think that they stopped anyone, like they jammed whatever signal it is that was going to cameras to have cameras record, and so they can't identify any movement during that period. So that's been an issue. So maybe the culprit is not that stupid as people want to think. Some people are saying that it was planned. Some people are saying it was a robbery gone wrong. Okay, so now I'm going to bronze. I'm going to use this palette. This is the Hot Escape Cheek Palette 3. So I'm going to use the bronzer, and then I'm going to use this blush. So we're going to use this. This bronzer is Laguna 6. Nice. Alrighty. Alright, so I'm taking up a good amount on here. Alright, so yeah, so they think that the perp used a signal jammer to prevent any recording, whether from Nancy's house or the neighbors, from recording any activity. So even he using the bushes to cover the camera, maybe that's just an extra step he was taking because he already had the signal jammer, you know, because they saw this thing sticking out from this antenna looking thing sticking out from his pockets. And so they assumed at first that it was a walkie-talkie, but then now they assume that it was a signal jammer. It's probably a signal jammer, because how is it that no one have recordings of anything during the period when Nancy was abducted? And then they found this utility box that was damaged. The door is open, and so they think that it had something to do with it, but authorities are telling others that it has nothing to do with it. Again, maybe the authorities are just throwing off the perp. Who knows at this point? But a lot of things, as I said, has been left to speculation. But they've even had psychics involved. OMG. They have psychics saying that Nancy's near water. But nothing specific, you know, no one's saying anything specific. And all of that. People are trying to do all these things to get that $1 million reward. But Nancy has not been found, so... Then, as speaking of found, there was someone who they thought was in a hospital at one point. They think that's Nancy, and the authorities are not telling people because this person was in the hospital, and I don't really know how. Oh, I could use this as my brush for my blush. Let's use that blush. I like when blush. Oh, there we go. Is there anything on there? Doesn't look so. All right, let's put it on. Yeah, so they are saying, oh, that's Nancy in the hospital that they found, an old lady. But then, and the authorities don't want to tell us. I'm not sure why the authorities wouldn't want to tell us. But the thing, as I said before, a lot of people just don't trust the authorities. So that's understandable in that realm. I think the authorities just need to really get it together and try to rebuild trust. But that's going to happen over time, you know. But there is certainly an issue with people believing authority, huh? Yeah, I like this. I like this blush. And I like that it's coming under my eyes here. All right, let's do this again. Put this side. Anyway, the case has taken so many twists and turns. Each time in the chat when they have a psychic come up, the people start saying it's demonic and all of that, and it's just interesting, the responses in the chat. Each time there's a caller, there's so much skepticism in the information that the caller is saying, even though people are giving their opinions. But some of the opinions are so out there, you know. There was a caller yesterday on JLR's channel that said she believes Nancy is in the house. Now, you would think that you would have some some evidence, right? But she's using her feeling. Now, can you imagine if authorities was just to use their feeling and lock up a person just based off a feeling? This is so why it's important to have so much evidence. Like, you have to have, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt in court to convict somebody. You cannot have any doubt. You have to be sure, because you're taking a person's freedom. So, I mean, but just, you can't just lock up a person just based on feelings, you know. But as I said, there's so much mistrust in the community. So today they are still doing the searching and all of that. I'm really going overboard with this. I think I'm gonna take some of this highlight as well. It's kind of the same thing, right? Let's see what it looks like. Okay, that's nice actually. Look at that. Wow. Ooh. Yeah, I think I have the perfect brush for that. Yeah, didn't want to overdo it, right? Okay. I just think coral is just my color. I just love coral blushes. All right, let's take a little bit here. I'm obsessed. All right, so I'm gonna use my bronzer to do my eyeshadow. I'm gonna use that as my eyeshadow shade. See what that looks like. I like the creaminess of this bronzer. It certainly doesn't leave any fallout. Are you following this case? If so, where are you watching the case? Like, where are you, what's your source? Because I literally am hooked. And as I said, I just think I'm hooked because some people have moved on already. I want to see the lady found. It's just taken so many mysterious turns, especially the fact that with so much technology, they're getting so much roadblock from the cameras. They were able to come up with the image of the figure, and some have seen a tattoo on this person when the perp reached in to cover the door with the flowers. Some people have seen a tattoo. Some people are saying he comes up to ring the doorbell. It's just so many things, so much speculation, because we just want Nancy found, you know. I am just hoping that the authorities are getting like leads from just getting ideas, I should say, not leads. I hope they're getting leads, but I'm hoping that even through all the speculation that people are having, as outlandish as some of them sound, that maybe it's giving them ideas of where they could look, something that they never thought of, you know, while looking at the case. But I really thought that, you know, Nancy would have been found. In fact, just having the $1 million reward, you would have thought that the money would drive them. But the thing is that, no, there have been people who have come out and said that they know information, and it turns out that they were just fakes. There was some ransom note TMZ was reporting on at one point. There was a person who wanted bitcoins, and they gave information to TMZ, and that they didn't trust the FBI and authorities, which is why they were coming through TMZ. My eyebrows are so sparse. You guys have a eyebrow product that you use for sparse eyebrows that you can recommend to me? I use Anastasia Beverly Hills. It definitely works. It really does. But who wouldn't like a tried and true product that's out there that I didn't know of? Yeah, so I am just riveted by the fact that with all technology, we haven't found Nancy yet. But I feel like it's going to be, and I said I feel, right? I feel like it's just gonna probably be something like the Kohlberger case, where the FBI or whoever authority, whichever authority is responsible for this case, they're gonna make sure that they have solid evidence. I'm using the Sephora eyeliner. They're gonna make sure that they have a slam dunk case. This palette is Major Dimension 2 eyeshadow palette. Okay, this. I took out the top because it was filled with glitter, or you don't want to know. I'm just gonna put that here. This one is the darkest one, just to dry that eyeliner. Let's put some down near my waterline. So this is a brown. This is in the color Espresso. Yeah. Yeah, so, but at the same time, I still have to keep an open mind that maybe they have information, but they're just not sharing it. Just because we don't get the daily updates coming from the sheriff department doesn't mean that they are way behind on who this perp is. And so we just have to keep that in mind. Let me spray my face. I don't have a NARS setting spray, so I'm using Danessa Myrick, the Yummy Skin Liquid Blurring Balm, and this is a mattifying setting spray. I sprayed my face with the Danessa Myrick Blurring Balm. Now I'm going to use the Makeup by Mario. I have it in. It's in here. It's the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Soft Blur Setting Powder, and this is in the shade 5 Neutral Medium. And so I put it in here, and then I dip my brush in here, right? Dust it off in an empty container, and then swirl my brush so it can distribute on the brush fully, and then I just tap that all over my face to set that makeup. I want it to be like a thin veil, nothing too outrageous. Where's my Charlotte? Here we go. I'm gonna use the Charlotte Tilbury Exagger Eyes Volume mascara. And the thing is, this is a trial size, you know, and I am finding I am really enjoying the trial sizes. Actually, let me put on eyeliner first before. So this is one size, Point Made Bodacious Black, right? Let's put some of that in my waterline so I can really define the eyes. Look at that, right? Compared. Okay. Putting it right on the waterline. There we go. And now let's, you know, I've never been big on curling my lashes. I tried it some time ago and it just felt weird having that curler on my eye. I'm gonna get a mirror so that I don't have to use this one all the time and look away, just so that you guys can see as I do these things a little bit better. Okay. When you make that ugly face, you know you really get it in, you know? Yeah, it's like I don't know, I don't see any movement, right? But it just makes sense to make the ugly face to get the mascara on. Do you like this sort of thing where we talk about makeup and crime? If you do, I can always do more videos like this. Are you interested? If not, it's fine. You don't have to. I can always talk true crime with friends. I feel like I need my wing to be a little bit more defined. And here. All right, yeah, a little bit more defined, right? See if that's gonna make a difference. Oh, that's a little bit more prevalent. Yeah, I think I want that a little bit more prevalent. I like that more defined, don't you? What do you think? It looks like I'm not wearing anything on that eye. Where it just wants a little bit of definition. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, so we are really on watch for how this whole Nancy Guthrie case is gonna turn out. Ashley Banfield, that's the name. Drop Dead Serious. That's the name of the person I was talking about earlier. Ashley Banfield. I watch Ashley Banfield's podcast. I watch it on YouTube. I am going to take some of the highlighter, this highlighter here, just, ooh, that's very soft. Put it on my nose here. Oh, that's very subtle. I like that. Okay. Just help to define the nose so it just looks a little bit more straight, but let me tone that down so it doesn't look overpowering. And I am going to use this Fenty lip liner. And this, do I have the shade here? This is in the shade Traced Out. I'm gonna sharpen this so it doesn't tear my lips up. This is the Melt. I've been loving this one. It's very hard on my lips though, but it's in the shade Pumpkin. It's very hard, but it gets the job done and it looks nice. Yeah. It's a very pretty lipstick, but geez, it's like it's gonna tear the lips off my face when I'm using it. Geez, but it's very It's very beautiful. Okay, so let's remove my hair now. All right, so this is what my face looks like now trying NARS. I have really been loving NARS products. Just trying to fall in love again with everything NARS. NARS really have done good on their complexion products, and I just thought I would just indulge. So thanks for getting ready with me today. What did you think about the talk we had today? Did you learn anything about applying makeup or any of the makeup products? Did you find any that you like, that you want to hear more about? I hope you have a good day and a good week. And thank you so much for joining me today to talk makeup and to talk true crime. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you'll be notified. So in the meantime, walk good.